Especially a week against summer. And that's what I. Exactly.
Coming back.
Yeah. You think I have a,
Okay, let's call this meeting to order. We have places to be today. First on the agenda, Rhonda.
Resolution before the finance committee acceptance of the financial.
Did everybody have a chance to review it online? I was very pleased.
Yes.
We made as much as Perry.
That is, this is the highest it's been in 15 years.
I know that we've had some really, really big.
Yeah.
This gone sky high.
Yeah.
You know.
And one of the bigger ones was more installed, they took out $21 million, so. So, and the thing is, when this is high, so we can local. For an answer.
We have any questions? If not, then motion. A motion by Supervisor Grant. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Anything else? Anybody have any questions for Ron? Thank you. Yeah. We haven't seen you in a while.
It's been a while.
Let's be quiet up there.
It is like that way. I'm just bringing forward a position change. I'm not looking, even though it says to create, not looking for more additional people in my office. I'm just looking to create this job, which gives her now, or gives me the responsibility to be able to do fiscal things in the office where the records clerk did not. But I have no intention of adding anyone to my office. Yeah, and I don't want to sunset her position until she takes her test. So if the state doesn't come out with that test by say next October, I will come forward and ask for that for an extension. Because if something happens that she doesn't, we will go back to the season. But in the meantime, she's gonna learn Munis and she's gonna do some manual reports that I need done. And then very receptive to learning all this too.
And that'll give you better back.
It will. And it is a difference. I've gone over to Janice. It's a difference of like $2,200. Maybe a few cents over $2,200 to take her from a senior records clerk to a principal clerk with fiscal responsibility.
Is there a reason why you went to principal clerk and not either senior accountant or?
No, just because the principal clerk went from a 6 to an 8, where the account clerk went from a 6 to a 12, which would have financially been a little more money. But I think the principal clerk test is going to be more similar to her records clerk test. So for that reason, I didn't go up in,
Morning.
you know.
She can still do the old duties and the duties together.
That's correct. Am I saying something wrong, Dan? Is that what I'm?
No, you're perfect.
So that's why, Ellen, it was just, and I think like the account clerk was, where this is like $22 an hour, where I think the account clerk was more 24. So I don't really have a lot of accounting in my office. I just have, there's responsibility of the fiscal reports, and like I said, now with Munis coming on and doing vouchers and contracts, and we have billing for like billing to Cornell and billing to the town of Arcade. That is the things that I want to share that responsibility with her.
We have any other questions?
And this goes within your budget, I mean.
It
This
does.
was one of the items we talked about
Motion by Supervisor Kale. More questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Here. Thank you. Thank you, Gail. City.
Morning.
All three of our historic markers are now on the ground for the Ulster Women's Trail. The one in the Village of Wyoming for the Village Hall and in
Thursday,
14th.
the Thursday, I think. Or no, Friday, it was Friday.
Warsaw Village by the park went in just last Friday on the 21st, and then the last one. The ceremony, the dedication ceremony is this Friday at 5:30 at the Castile Library. Really, really so. I attended the Government of China Springs Western Europe Conference on October 1st. And I was elected president again for 2 years. And the Julia Weinstein Career Achievement Award that our organization gives out was given to 3 historians and 1 state Charleston Jacob. So that's pretty cool. And the last thing, I guess they usually the Parks and Recreation sends my office the letters of historic sites, and I guess the village ones have been going to the main office, so thank you, Cheryl, for making sure I get the letters, because as you know, people call and say, "You're Sam?" Sure. Yeah, so that's thanks for sending that, so I can keep our file updated. You're welcome. So that's very good. That opens them up to great opportunities, so that's. That's it for me. Any questions from anybody?
I have a question. So, on the historic markers, each one is specific to an individual for that particular location. Like in Wyoming, it was the Avery, Lydia Avery, right? Who are the other 2?
The one at the Village Park is to the Wyoming County Women's Equality Club. Which was an organization that Delia Green started,
Right.
and Susan LeFavery, they're the founders of it, and they used to have the rallies every year when the county fair was held at Warsaw Park. It was either at Warsaw Park or Perkins Park. And until it became the fairgrounds at Pike. So they used to have the rallies there. Because they had a booth at the fair, and they have speakers from all over the county. And the other one, Cordelia Green, well, she dedicated, because the Sawhorse isn't there anymore, and you really don't want to stick a marker by someone's house. I mean, you can if they're okay with it, but usually that's, a little more difficult. So since she dedicated the grounds to put the library in, we thought that'd be a good spot for the marker to go in her honor. It's her contribution to starting the organization in Castile. So, and it was held at the first meeting of theirs was held at the sanitarium. That's not there anymore, so it would seem more appropriate to stick it by the building that's in her honor.
Sure. Just a follow up. So each marker is individually marked with a number.
Yes.
Like the one in Wyoming is 170. So I assume this is for the entire country.
They were originally only going to do 200, I guess. So.
Okay.
And the program started in 2020. So when there's like local state groups out of this whole national group of women's rights, in history, and they asked me, can you think of anybody for Wyoming County state? And they go, well, I can think of about 3. Can I do 3? Off the top of my head. So I put in for those 3 markers because they were the most prominent. But yeah, now they're doing more than 200. But it's a national trail, and there's a website you can go to, and zoom in on the north side of the Granby Village, if someone is. You know, traveling through the country that's interested in. Online and show them, you know, where to go to their home.
Okay, I didn't know if there was in fact a map that shows the complete trail.
Well, it's kind of like all over, they call it a trail because. This way, if you're in this particular county or you're traveling somewhere like across New York, you go, oh, I just gotta go another 45 minutes and hit Seneca Falls and. You know, see their sites and then, you know. Depending on where you're traveling to, you can make your own little tour, so they're all over the United States, so.
Got it,
So
okay.
we are.
How many markers do we have now?
Well, we have the 3 that I put in markers all together total. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure, because there's the new Pomeroy markers, there are the old state markers. There's National Register of Historic Places markers. And, yeah, so there's.
Dan, wouldn't it be fun to have a whole trail with just our markers?
We could do that. There you go, there's a game and a story to tell us right there.
It's what we across the street at the library.
Yeah,
You guys aren't there.
yeah, it's the Ella Holland Crossing, another one of the partners we found in the Wyoming County Political Volley Club, so she already had a marker. Which I think they put that marker on the trail too, even though it's not, you know, the official Pomeroy marker, that's still on the trail. So. There I go.
Okay,
Anything else for Cindy?
Okay, thank you, have a good lunch.
Okay.
Morning.
good morning.
Two non-25 session general updates are, I talked about months ago that they were thinking of the court system wanted to add in that people would be qualified to get assigned counsel on CPS investigations. And I said that hopefully that doesn't pass and they don't add that in anywhere. Well, they did. However, you know, the chief administrative judge is the one who did it. So the organizations are still arguing that it's not scope of its authority to do that. There's been no guidance in the last month. They signed it at the end of September. So I haven't heard anything from anybody other than it exists at this point and everybody's still opposed to it because as you know, every CPS law that comes in does not result in removal of children, right? There's investigations done, something found it. And so, you know, it's way too broad. But it was signed, gave you the update that it was signed, and that's about all I have at this moment. And then for the opioid litigation, Rob and I are opening the portal for us to receive the next distributor payments. And so I've been working with her to get that done, and that's where we are. Yeah,
Do you know how much that would be?
it'll be the second payment to the distributor from that spreadsheet that I previously. I don't know why.
Now, are we appropriating those funds to, according to the guidelines?
At this point, there is no update as to what's going to happen with the funds. There's been a couple meetings and we have another meeting at some point now that, you know, there's been some research done.
There's no timeline.
Right. Okay. And we'll continue to receive funds for several years based on the spreadsheets that we previously provided to council. And there's about 3 or 4 other ongoing litigation that haven't settled yet that we should likely receive something from. It may not be huge, but you know, we should get some money.
So probably Rob and I were talking about how we want to handle that, and we'll have is a separate cost center like we do PWI, like we do any of these other reserve type funds. And we'll keep track of it there, and then we'll dump it into a reserve at the end of the year, so that money's earmarked. Probably earmark all of it for right now, just because. Some required, some free, restricted, so we'll probably have to sort that all out and set up aside. Two buckets, maybe restricted, unrestricted, something like that. It's still pretty new to everyone.
So you'll treat it similar to how we treat the tobacco?
No, nothing
Settlement.
like that,
No?
no. That's a separate thing,
Okay, yeah, I know that, but the treatment of the,
no different, we
Opioid.
don't have tobacco in our budget,
okay, why the difference?
because we didn't have to set up a. Separate corporation,
For opioid,
right,
but yet you're creating a separate cost center.
so just to keep those. Specific identified revenues out of. Wherever it's gonna go, and we can use that money for anything, but right now it's sitting in mental health, which it doesn't necessarily belong there, and it doesn't necessarily belong where it needs to
Well,
be.
we can't use it for anything. I mean, it's gotta be used for specific purposes,
Some of it does,
yes.
some of it doesn't. And some of those specific purposes might
Sure.
engage the sheriff's office, which would be. Not mental health, some of those might engage. The foreigners, so we need to set up something. Outside of that.
But we're not intending though to use those funds just to roll into the general fund.
They can't, that's why I said we're gonna set up a reserve, just like we have 911 reserve, we have, so we'll have to establish. An opioid reserve,
Okay,
and that will be done by you guys. At some point,
sure.
but we wouldn't close up books at the end of the year.
Will that show up in anywhere in the budget,
Well,
or is it off the books? Per se,
you will see this year before we close the books, hopefully. There will be, because we don't have to, but there, I'm hoping. We will have a opioid cost center set up. Where we'll move all the revenue that we've received thus far. Into that cost center, so when we close those books. You will see that it'll look like it's going in the general fund, but it's not, we will adjust that to go into a reserve.
okay, and then how do you account for it as you disperse those funds? Once you make a decision on how to do that,
We appropriate it,
and will that come through?
yes,
Committee?
just like BWI, just like 911, yeah. So we'll appropriate the money into the account. And then, we will spend it, and then whatever the difference is, it is a reserve, don't know, general.
So who's on the decision committee?
The sheriff.
Who?
Richard Gibbons,
Judge Mullen?
Mr. Davis, Judge Mullen. Mr. Kale.
I have a list of I have my file, have it up and that was I try to keep track, it was on what ad hoc committee.
Right.
So you're just gotta figure out the door, side of file.
So if, for example, we want to, Judge Mullen says, I want to designate so much to drug court, then.
So you would have to, this board would have to actually approve that, because through an appropriation.
Okay,
So if you guys don't like that idea, and you say, we're not appropriating that money, then they can't spend it. So ultimately, you will first grants to that, but
Like all expenditures, really, I mean,
right, through finance,
probably, like Robin would
Or
probably started. to-
human services, or,
Yeah, and then wherever that reserve lies is what we have to bring.
well, I would most likely think it'd be like. Mental health, I feel like mental health should,
You got one sheriff's department or whoever it is that is. You
the head point.
For training or for this or for that, there's,
We have in mental health they have a waste, so it's, you've got your drug and prevention. So to put it in that row of area, where it belongs really, because we have the Oasis piece for mental health. Office of Alcohol, Oasis is alcohol and substance abuse. So we have a whole cost center that's designated for substance abuse. We're gonna set another one up on basically opioid reserve. So I would think it would come through that, but there's more than one player. It's not all mental health, but it's gotta go somewhere. You can't go in some random place, just like 911 is in the public safety sheriff realm.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, a certain amount of those funds, for example, could go through for prevention activities.
Yep.
Through mental health, but then some may be applied to enforcement,
Sure.
training more sheriffs to be drug recognition, experts, that kind of thing.
So probably just like DWI, we would have a charge. So if the sheriff spent money on DWI, drug recognition, whatever. What we do now is they bill mental health pays them, and it's recorded in that. So we have all of our expenditures for opioid related activities.
Sure. Okay, and how long will we be receiving funds?
In at least a decade or one.
A whole decade,
Yes.
10 years. 10 years, wow. Okay,
So, like I said, some ones are figured out over time, some we got a one time, and then we've got at least two for distributor. That one's like 5 years. And then there's still outstanding litigation. When I talked with our counsel a couple months ago, she said that no on the horizon settlements, there's still ongoing in various stages.
So knowing that structure that you provided in that spreadsheet, knowing that structure, I'm hoping the committee looks at it, because you not have enough money in the first year to do maybe a big project, but if you know you're getting that money, that's continually going to that reserve for a purpose. They understand, I believe that, and I think I explained that to them, that you can save that for a couple of years and then you have the money to do X. So it doesn't have to be like, oh, we never even spend it. It's there, it's committed to that area. So it just accumulates. So knowing how much we're gonna have in 3 4 years will determine, how much that will plan.
And something like 118,000 right now. It's coming.
yeah.
So just do that.
I mean, for example, some cities like Monroe County or counties, they're establishing these Narcan drop boxes, right? Where they have Narcan available in a specific location for, intervention, that type of thing. I would assume you could do something like that if you decided you wanted to use those funds for whatever.
Sounds like you want to be committed.
Well, I had actually, when you first mentioned it, I had submitted some ideas around where I thought those funds should be used, but I hadn't heard back.
The contact.
Yeah, you can just say so when they need them.
Thank you.
Okay, so you want those five.
Going to the end.
You just have to wait for Carol to expel.
Or wait for until
I don't think, we don't have anything for executive.
No.
Okay.